And so I'm just going to stop and say I woke up. I woke up and realized that we're here today for a very specific reason. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Aaron Ford, and I'm your Attorney General. A year ago today, many of you, like I, watched a man murder another man. He took his time to commit this murder. He did it in full view of the public, without concern for any consequences, because he knew that he could use his badge as an excuse to get away with murder. When I watched the video of George Floyd's murder, I thought about how it could have easily been me with a knee on my neck. I thought how it could have easily been one of my own sons. It's a feeling so painful and so nauseating, it makes me physically ill. I remember writing an essay last year that I never published. It was called I Have a Headache. It's a headache that is really a migraine because it would never go away. I just couldn't figure out how to deal with the trauma of what we were experiencing yet again. It's an all too familiar feeling that repeats itself time and time again now on videos of police engaging with the public. My feelings of sadness and disgust while watching the murder of George Floyd took on a new dynamic now that I have a badge. This murder used the color of law as an excuse to murder, and he used his badge to prevent bystanders from even helping this dying man. To use our badge to take the life of this black man was so deeply insulting. And I know many of my fellow law enforcement officers felt the same. I heard from them almost immediately, which was something that was different than the past. I then watched as my community, my church, and even my own sons took to the streets to pour out their pain, to demand justice for George Floyd and for themselves. And I watched as the nation tried to pit my community seeking justice against the badge that I now wear and the community of law enforcement. I realize that my personal experiences are fairly unique, but I want you to understand the reason that this day is so important to me is because of the unique situation that I find myself in. I said this about a year ago. I'm a black man married to a black woman, raising 3 black sons and a black nephew. I was that before I was Attorney General. I'm that as Attorney General, and I will be that when I am no longer Attorney General. So this seat that I sit in is one that is unique, but one that I must speak to. And I want to make the broader point that supporting communities of color and lawful policing is not the antithesis of supporting law enforcement. Recognizing police violence does not make someone anti-police. If my brother did something wrong, I would not cast him out of my family, but nor would I give him cover for the wrong that he was committing. And as my brothers in law enforcement, we must hold each other accountable and to the highest standards of excellence for our communities that we seek to serve. Soon after Mr. Floyd's murder, I posted a video online. I'm going to repeat some of the things I said in that video. You see, as Attorney General, I've often framed the types of communities out there that exist as one of 3. One community is the one that has the utmost trust in government and law enforcement. You've seen it on Law and Order, where Olivia Benson is testifying on the stand and everybody in the jury is nodding their heads, saying, yeah, what she's saying is right, that's Bible. That's one level of trust that some communities have in government. Everything that they do is right. It's far and few between, but it exists. There's another type of community out there where they had the highest level of trust, but it's been diminished for some reason. Maybe it's because of something that happened to them personally, or maybe it's something that happened vicariously that they've experienced. And then there's a third community, frankly one from which I came, that had little to no trust in law enforcement. You see, sometimes we were happy to see law enforcement when bad things were happening, but sometimes bad things happened when we saw law enforcement. And I've always said that in my capacity as Attorney General, it's my role to augment trust where it already exists, to restore it where it's been diminished, and to create it where it's never existed in the first place. The unofficial motto of my office, and you could ask anybody in this building, any of the 3 around me or anyone in Southern Nevada, is our job is justice. Immediately after the killing of George Floyd, my team and I, inclusive of Chief of Staff Jessica Adair, First Assistant Kyle George, Second Assistant Christine Jones-Brady, Special Assistant Teresa Haar, and Monica Moazes, my Communications Director, we came together to develop a plan to engage the community and stakeholders in solutions-based conversations to address policing reform. Thus was born a panel series called the Justice and Injustice Forum. We had 6 panels where we brought together groups of people from all different types of organizations, like community groups, law enforcement, state agencies, police unions, civil rights organizations, nonprofit organizations, and many more. We had an open and honest discussion about systemic racism and policing. Several ideas came out of that forum, and my office immediately got to work on legislation because change must begin with the law. Today, I'm proud to announce that 2 pathways for change were signed into law a little over an hour ago. Assembly Bill 58 and Senate Bill 50. These bills stemmed from the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, as well as other instances of police brutality that have sparked outrage and protests all over the country. I told you in my video last year, and I'll repeat it today, that we hear you, we see you, and we made a promise to you. This is one of the ways that we are trying to fulfill that promise. Assembly Bill 58 provides more transparency and accountability for Nevada's law enforcement agencies. I want you to know that this bill was written with the loss of trust that I mentioned earlier in mind. This bill gives my office the authority to conduct pattern and practice investigations into agencies that are alleged to have unlawful or unconstitutional policing practices. So when something seems to be going wrong, these investigations would allow my office to work with police agencies to reform these patterns of unlawful policing. My other bill that was signed into law today is Senate Bill 50. It's one that's made the news many times because it's a topic that's been affecting our nation as of late: no-knock warrants. As we have seen over recent years, no-knock warrants can result in injury or even death. A lawfully issued warrant gives law enforcement legal authority to enter into premises without consent of those who control that property. We all know that in certain circumstances, no-knock warrants can be problematic. Imagine if suddenly and without warning, armed persons violently entered into your home. And in those immediate moments, you wouldn't know what's going on, let alone what the intentions were of those who were entering your space. One of the most recent examples I just mentioned was Breonna Taylor, who was killed in Louisville, Kentucky, a 26-year-old black woman shot by a police officer in a late-night raid. Senate Bill 50 drastically limits the use of no-knock warrants, and it creates a framework that makes sure no-knock warrants are used safely and only when absolutely necessary. I'd like to thank all of the stakeholders for their assistance in supporting the passage of these bills, including the Nevada District Attorneys Association, the Nevada Sheriffs and Chiefs Association, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the Reno Police Department, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Managers and Supervisors Association, the Nevada Police Union, the Nevada State Law Enforcement Officers Association, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Nevada Criminal Justice Association, the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, and the Clark County Public Defender's Office. You see, we had people on all sides of this issue in the room together to figure out the best way forward. I'd also like to thank the legislature. Importantly, both of these bills received unanimous support, unanimous bipartisan support in the legislature, which is an amazing feat, as we all know. And I'd also like to thank our governor for recognizing the importance of these bills and signing them into law today. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank my personal motivation for all that I do. And that's my wife and my 3 sons and nephew that we raised. The level of perpetual Oops, sorry. The level of perpetual anxiety that we have to exist with is just an unfair burden, and we have to stop it. When my wife gets upset because I send my son out to take the trash out past dusk because she's worried about a vigilante killing their son like Ahmaud Arbery was killed, or when she's concerned about a rogue officer like Derek Chauvin killing our kids, you know something's wrong. You know the trauma is real. One of my motivations is right here with me. He was with me in 2015 when I passed the body camera bill. It was him who said to me, I shouldn't have to feel afraid to be around law enforcement officers. So do something about it, Daddy. So we passed the law enforcement body camera bill. Son, this is for you. And it's for all of us. So I'm going to conclude, but I want to reiterate something I said earlier. And that's that reform doesn't have to pit law enforcement against the communities that we serve. These bills, they show that we can work together to improve accountability, transparency, and public safety. Today is indeed a day of mourning. We mourn for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for Deontay Wright, for Ajanna Jefferson, for Stephon Clark, for Philando Castile, for Freddie Gray, for Tamir Rice, for Ronald Green, and the countless other black lives that have been lost over the years. But today is also a day for hope. And it's a day to recognize that the pursuit of justice must be done deliberately, conspicuously, and continuously. Today we took one more step toward justice. Thank y'all for being here. I'll take a few questions.
Tell me, with the no-knock warrants, I don't know if you have numbers, but how much does this diminish that number? Like, if there were no-knock warrants, does this law say they're going to be taken down by 50%, or you know what I'm saying? And you guys must know how many, maybe you do, were served in the last year or whatever, and what percentage will be chopped off?
When I testified on this bill, I gave kudos where they were due. Our largest law enforcement agencies have generally not used no-knock warrants, except in extreme circumstances. But that's a matter of policy as opposed to law. And what I opted to do here was to codify best practices, and beyond that, to ensure that in the event that they're used going forward, that their use is drastically limited, and that there are actual consequences for violating the rules associated with using them. So while I can't give you statistics or percentages, what I can say is that we will see a benefit from the bill, one that we're proud of, and one that I continue to advocate. Next question.
These pattern and practice investigations, have you identified any police departments right now that you've been looking into that once this is effective, you have maybe a couple of agencies that you would launch an investigation into?
It would be premature for me to say that we're going to institute pattern and practice investigations when I haven't even received a complaint yet. This bill will go into operation, into effect in short order, and if we receive sufficient information to conduct an investigation, rest assured that this administration will do exactly that.
Could you not do it before? Or just, again, is this one of those things where, well, we can, but now it's law?
I could not do it before. Pattern and practice investigations were generally, at least here in Nevada, exclusively within the authority of the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice. The U.S. Department of Justice, however, in the last administration, declined to utilize the skill, utilize that particular tactic, saying that it was more for the states to do. And so I asked the state to give us that authority. And so now I have that authority, and I have more authority than the U.S. DOJ has because we actually can issue subpoenas to get information.
Can you prosecute?
prosecution is a civil, this is a civil action, and therefore we can go to civil court to seek injunctive relief and remedies in the civil context. If a subpoena, for example, is ignored, there's a criminal consequence for that. But this is a civil statute that gives me the ability to institute civil proceedings.
And criminal would be DOJ?
Criminal may be DOJ, it may be other forms of laws that are broken, but for a pattern and practice investigation, it's civil oriented. Next question.
Your two bills are obviously two major steps in the direction that you want to take, not only the Attorney General's office, but the state of Nevada and law enforcement in the state of Nevada. Is your work, you know, obviously your work's not done, right? You know, what else are you going to want to do, you know, going forward?
Well, the great can always get greater. And we will continue to look for opportunities to improve ourselves as law enforcement. And I will continue to work with all stakeholders on the community side in the law enforcement arena to see what more can be done to, as I've indicated, augment trust in communities that already have it, restore it where it's been diminished, and to create it in the first instance. So no, we're not done. We will continue to work to improve ourselves.
Last question.
Are there any other states?
I'm sorry. I think, did you have a question? You've asked 3 already, so I'm going to give someone an opportunity.
You know, on that note, you know, what needs to be done, though? This is the third session I've covered where you as a senator, now AG, have worked to tackle criminal justice reform. You know, have you made inroads in those communities where you have to create trust? And what are they saying to you at this point? What do they want to see?
Well, what you've seen today is what I've already heard. The Justice and Injustice Forum was intended to be a solutions-based discussion. And I proposed bills that came directly out of the community conversations that I had. Pattern and practice is one of them. No-knock warrants is another. Body cameras was a third. So to the extent you are looking for progress, it absolutely has taken place. As I've just indicated a second ago, though, are we done? Absolutely not. The great can always get greater. The good can always get better. And the bad can, in fact, improve. And so to the extent we run across additional opportunities to augment, restore, and create trust, we will absolutely do that. I'm going to let him do a follow-up. Looks like he wants to keep talking. Oh, I thought you were done.
Are there any other states that have an attorney general that has the investigative authority, or are we breaking new ground here?
We are breaking new ground. We're not the only state to have it, but there are only a few that do have it. My recollection is that, for example, my Attorney General colleague, Kwame Raoul in Illinois, just received the same authority. He likewise went to his state legislature and asked for it because the last Department of Justice would not enforce consent decrees, for example. And so we are on the cutting edge, the leading edge of ensuring that we can improve the relationships between law enforcement and the communities that we serve. Thank y'all so much for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you all. If there are further questions, feel free to email myself and Ashley, and we're happy to try and answer them.